Hello everyone, I'm the Saxy Gamer. Today we're here for yet another Civilization 6 Wonder Spotlight, where today we'll be taking a look at, I believe, the first Gathering Storm Wonder that we've covered thus far in this series, which is Meenakshi Temple. One thing that I should note is that I am going to go back and cover all of the Gathering Storm Wonders that I have missed, because as some of you have noticed, I've been going era by era for these wonders, and since Gathering Storm came out, there are a few Ancient and Classical era wonders that I have missed, so I will go ahead and cover those. I'll probably finish the Medieval era wonders and then go back and cover those after that before we move on to the Renaissance era ones, so that'll be happening within probably like the next week or so. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at Meenakshi Temple. So Meenakshi Temple is unlocked with the Civil Service Civic. That's a little bit of a tongue twister right there. But to get the inspiration for civil service, all you have to do is grow a city to 10 population. So this is something that I find to be, I mean, obviously it's a fairly easy thing to do, but I don't find that I do it in 100% of my games by the time I actually reach this civic, just because, you know, some games you tend to play, you prioritize different things in the early game. Maybe you're not prioritizing growth, maybe you're spamming settlers, things like that that might decrease your population. So you can't always rely on having the inspiration for civil service, but nonetheless, if you want to be rushing for Meenakshi Temple, it is fairly easy to get that little bit of a boost towards civil service. And just as I've mentioned with all the other wonders we've been covering recently, this is a medieval era wonder. So the building requirements for Meenakshi Temple are very simple. All you have to do is put it adjacent to a holy site. The only other thing is that you do have to have a religion founded, just because it grants gurus, so it can't give gurus to, you know, like just no religion. You have to have at least a founded, or you have at, geez, I can't speak English today. You have to at least have founded a religion in order to build Meenakshi Temple. And like all the other medieval era wonders, it has a production cost of 710 production, so you can probably expect the usual, you know, like 20 to 30 turns in a decent city to construct it. As far as its bonuses are concerned, it will provide +3 faith per turn in the city that it is built in. It will also grant 2 free gurus, and gurus will be 30% cheaper to purchase with faith. And in addition to this, religious units that are adjacent to gurus will receive +5 religious strength and +1 movement. So these bonuses are, they're decent, I guess, is the best way to put it. So +3 faith per turn, that's honestly pretty weak for a wonder, because if you think about it, a shrine itself is +2, so a shrine is significantly cheaper than building Meenakshi Temple, so that for one, you know, makes that +3 faith per turn really kind of underwhelming. 2 free gurus is okay. The issue with a lot of these bonuses for Meenakshi Temple is that gurus themselves are kind of bad units. You're very rarely able to use them effectively in a religious game, just because of how religious victories tend to work. So whenever you're converting cities for religious victory, you tend to do it in multiple cities at a time. You know, you send out like a big wave of apostles or a wave of missionaries that all go to different cities to try to convert multiple cities at a time, so that way you end up getting a lot of religious pressure in your favor as well. So because of how you play with that, gurus tend to not be that good, because you never really walk around with just a big clump of apostles that you can heal. And I guess I should explain what gurus do as well, for those of you who don't know. So gurus are religious units that you can put adjacent to your other religious units, and they have, instead of spread charges, they have heal charges, so they can use those charges to heal your religious units, because, you know, religious units normally can't heal on their own unless they're in a holy site. So gurus are a way to heal your other religious units outside of your own territory. But as I mentioned, since you're not generally moving religious units in a big clump, then gurus tend to be kind of bad, because you spend a lot of faith to just try to heal existing religious units, when you could just be using that faith instead to be buying more apostles or buying more missionaries. So that's why gurus a lot of the time are not really worth it. They don't really contribute directly towards your religious victory, and the other thing that really sucks with them is that their religious combat strength is kind of low, so if they get attacked by enemy apostles, especially if they have debater on them or something like that, your gurus will get your gurus will get melted, and then you'll get that negative pressure burst around all the cities that the guru is around whenever he dies. So for that reason, gurus are just kind of generally bad, and that kind of hurts Meenakshi Temple as well. I mean, the fact that Meenakshi Temple gives adjacent guru, or makes it so that adjacent gurus give your religious units +5 religious strength, is pretty good, and the +1 movement is also kind of good. But once again, I still don't really think it's worth the faith cost, even with them being 30% cheaper to purchase. So now let's go ahead and give Meenakshi Temple its ratings. So just a reminder that all of our ratings are on a 1 to 5 scale here, and if you're looking for a more in-depth explanation of what all of these ratings mean, you can go ahead and check out one of the earlier episodes of this series where I explain it towards the end of the videos. So for its overall rating, I think that Meenakshi Temple deserves a 2 for a lot of the reasons that I really just explained, just because of how bad of a unit the Guru honestly is. The fact that you really don't tend to move religious units in a clump and that it's not a very effective way to play Religious Victory makes it so that even with the bonuses to Gurus, it still just is not worth the faith cost to buy Gurus and try to change up your religious playstyle to make it work and, to try to force it to work, because really in the end it's still just not as effective as just buying, 3 apostles and sending them to 3 different cities to convert them all in the same turn or within, 2 or 3 turns of each other. That's just generally a much better way to play Religious Victory. You don't run the risk of losing your Gurus to enemy apostles because their religious strength is so low. So for those reasons, the Meenakshi Temple just ends up being kind of underwhelming, just because of not really out of its own fault and for it having bad bonuses, because really, like, at face value, it sounds like it has pretty good bonuses, 30% discounts, 2 free units, boosts to those units whenever they are affecting other religious units. All of those things sound pretty good, but unfortunately it is the Gurus themselves that kind of make Meenakshi fail, so for that reason I think it deserves the 2 overall. As far as the use cases are concerned, there really is only one, and that's for religious combat dominance. So even with all those things, you can, if the one thing that you would maybe try to use Meenakshi Temple for is to use your Gurus to keep your religious units alive if they have to fight through a lot of Inquisitors or to fight through a lot of Apostles. That's when you can try to use Meenakshi Temple, but as I mentioned, even though that is its main use case, it still is not a very effective way to play religion in Civ 6. As far as its difficulty rating is concerned, I think it deserves a 4. It, much like all of the other religious wonders in the game, is very much loved by the deity AI. I don't know what their obsession is with religious wonders, but Meenakshi Temple is no exception for them, and they will go after it in pretty much every game. So if you do want to build this wonder, you have to be pretty diligent towards getting it, because if not, you can bet that the AI are going to build it before you will. So for that reason, I think it deserves the 4 in difficulty. Man, we should, whenever I make the spreadsheet for all these wonders, it's going to be interesting to see how many of the religious wonders are above, like a 4 or 5 in difficulty, because I would bet it's probably most of them. And for its consistency rating, well, I think that the wonder does deserve a 5. It is a very consistent wonder. It gives you the same bonuses in pretty much every single game. It's not really reliant on positioning. The placement requirements are very easy to satisfy. So for that reason, I do think that it deserves the 5 in consistency, because it does what it says it's going to do in pretty much every single game. The only issue is that what it says it's going to do ends up not being very good. But thank you everyone for watching. I have been the Saxy Gamer. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you're looking for some more Civilization 6 content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.